Hey guys, and welcome to my channel. Crown of Glory here. It's Davina here, and today I'm going to be giving you tips on what to look out for before you sign your lease. So I've been in my salon for over a year now. It's going to be 2 years. In the fall, it'll be 2 years since I have been in my salon, and there are some things that I wish I would have known before I signed my lease and wish I would have done before I signed my lease. Now, I already know that my place is from God and it's a blessing, but if I would have looked over these things, it could have saved me like a lot, not just financially but also just time and stress. So let's get into the video. One thing that you definitely want to do before you sign your lease is never sign a as is. Well, I would say, I'm not that experienced, this is like my first experience, but I would say do not sign an as is lease. If it is as is and you feel like this is the place for you, at least try to negotiate with the landlord or the owners, so that if anything happens that they can help you out when need be. So actually my lease was an as is, and when I came to my place, I felt like everything was just like great. Like it didn't look like it had anything wrong with it besides having to decorate and oh, I need to fix the floors or little things like that. But as far as other things like water and heat, things like that, I didn't feel like it was anything that I need to worry about. I would recommend that you do not sign a as is lease, because as is meaning that you're going to take the place, even though you're not the owner, you're going to be taking the place as it is. So if you see right then and there, or you later see that there's no heat in the building or in your space, then that's on you. You take it as it is. So whatever problems that it has when you sign the lease, then it's now your problem and no longer really their problem. And then of course, if everything is like good, then you take it as is. You're taking it as what you see is what you get, what you know is what you get. So make sure that you this falls into my next tip, making sure that you examine everything before you sign your lease. So one thing I want you guys to do, if you have not signed your lease yet, make sure that you examine everything in your space. So I did. Once I found my space, I did examine things. Like I saw that they had a heating not center, but they had the little thermostat for the heat and cool air, and it was still very hot outside. Once I found my place, right before I signed my lease, it was really hot outside still. I got to see that the air was working, but I didn't check the heat because it was hot, so I didn't think of that. And I wasn't I should have gotten advice for somebody that was already more experienced. But if you guys don't know, I had kept what I was doing a secret, but I wasn't gonna keep it to myself forever, just for that season, just for like a few weeks or maybe a month or so, just to make sure that nobody would be able to stop me or anything like that, because I knew that what I was doing was from God. And I grew up sheltered, so I know that a lot of people try to protect me. So I just wanted to keep that to myself for a minute. And yeah, it all worked out. And later I was able to tell my family and loved ones what it was or whatever. I didn't feel led to tell anyone. I felt, well, it probably wasn't me that just wanted to keep it to myself for a minute, but I also didn't feel led to tell anybody. I didn't feel pressing from the Lord to tell anyone, so I just kept it to myself until I was ready to tell everyone. Plus, I never really made a big decision like that, even though I was an adult. And I was in the midst of making so many different decisions too, and getting back on track in life. Yeah. That's a whole nother story, and maybe I will make a video on why I decided to keep certain things, like moving in silence, the importance of moving in silence, but also how when it's time to let people in. So maybe I'll make a video on that, a separate video. But yeah, basically I kept it to myself. So I didn't get advice from anybody that I knew. So yeah, I didn't really know when it as is lease is. I did know that it would be as is, like that it would be like what it was, but I didn't think that was anything wrong, and I didn't do much research on an as is lease. So yeah, I would encourage you guys to examine everything. So when I say everything, make sure that you guys are checking the door that you guys have, making sure it's nice and safe. And no matter the season, that when I say season, I mean literal season, like fall, winter, spring, summer. No matter the weather outside or the season, make sure that you check to see if it's going to be good for the next season. So like if it's summer, fall and winter is going to be coming up, make sure that if you have your front door, it's not, air is not going to be able to easily come in or whatever. Because if it is, and it is an as is lease, even if it's not, then that's going to be a problem. So even if it's not an as is lease, and the landlords will fix that, you don't want to have to wait a long time for that. But then if it is an as is lease, you want to make sure they're able to fix that before you sign a lease. That's something that's non-negotiable for you, and you won't sign the lease until they fix that. So if you have air coming into your space, like if you notice that there's a big gap on your front door, for example, that means that air will be able to come in really easy during the winter months. And that was the case for me. So I ended up, like, it took so long for me to do it because initially I didn't have anybody to do it. Then I didn't know what was wrong, why I was feeling cold air coming into the place. And then during the summertime, there were like little bugs coming in from that little hole. So yeah, you definitely want to look at that. And if you already signed your lease, you're already in, and you have that problem, you could just get weather strips, and maybe I'll do a little tutorial on that or something, if you guys need that. And then you want to check your hot and cold water, of course. And then even if your hot and cold water is working and you have a salon, like you're transforming your place from just a space into a salon, like it wasn't previously a salon, then you want to ask questions. Like, once I met my landlord, they already knew that I wanted to turn it into a salon, but they didn't mention that there was only a certain amount of hot water that was included for me, and that I would have to get my own hot water. I can't remember the name of it, but I will have to get my own thing for hot water, so it could be different from the people that's next door to me. I didn't know that because I just saw that the hot and cold water was working properly, but I didn't know that if I was, I had to install my shampoo bowl, that I would have to get a separate, I didn't know that I would have to do that. I found that out the hard way. And then you want to look at the if it doesn't come with central air, is your utilities included? Do they bring an exterminator to your place? All these things, you just want to check everything top to bottom, just like you would do if you're getting an apartment and you want to do it even more thoroughly. So yeah, definitely make sure you examine everything in the place. Look for rusting. If you're not willing to accept it the way it is, do not sign the lease as is, and do not sign the lease, period. If there's something that you don't like while you're talking to the landlord or owners, make sure you let them know and ask them, if they can fix it before you sign the lease. And if they're willing to fix it, that's awesome. If they're not, then, if that's a non-negotiable for you, then you want to move on to the next place. The next thing is to examine your lease agreement. So before you get your place and you sign your lease, there will be an agreement. So there'll be a lease agreement, and then there's also another piece of paper, a rider, I believe, and you want to examine all of it to make sure you're okay with everything that it says. I read mine and felt that mine was okay. You definitely want to make sure you examine everything, including look at things like signage or whatever, to see if they want a specific sign for you to have. My place, they wanted a specific look for the signs, but they didn't go into detail about that and the lease. So I was able to get around it. So definitely make sure you know you also know your rights as well, and understand things like that. So I was able to get around it. I didn't try to do any manipulation or anything like that, but they didn't like it wasn't thorough, so I didn't know that I couldn't get the sign that I wanted. But since they didn't go into detail about it, I was able to get the sign that I wanted. It was almost exactly how I wanted it. I had to do a little tweaking, but I got the sign that I wanted. So the next thing is to ask plenty of questions. So I mentioned this a little bit already, but while you're examining everything and maybe you're going through the lease agreement as well, and you're just looking at the place, even if you're just on the phone with them, but you kind of want to do this in person though, make sure to just ask as many questions as you can think of. Even make out a list. So I didn't have a list because I didn't know to expect, but I did ask a lot of questions, and I could have asked even more questions because, like I mentioned earlier in the video, there were some things that I didn't realize. So just come up with a list of questions that you have for any, that you would have for the space that you're interested in, and just questions that you would have in general as well. And don't be afraid to ask the landlord these questions because it would save you a lot of time and stress and heartache. So make sure you ask as many questions as you can. Ask all the questions that you want. Nothing is too silly. Ask the questions. The next thing you want to do is check your state's limits. So basically, I'm just referring to to check your state's rights. Know your rights legally, and this is something that I'm going to be doing too. Actually, I got to take this advice. So go and just find out this. You could go in online and then find the proper website for your state and your town, as well as your business is going to be located, and know your rights. Like, is your landlord adding something extra to the lease that they're not supposed to? Are they doing something wrong? Because some landlords, they might say, hey, well, we're not going to bring an exterminator. You got to have the exterminator yourself. So you want to know your rights. Are you being rightfully, are they being right towards you, fair towards you, or are they like trying to like have you pay everything and them having to pay the bare minimum, So you want to make sure that you're being treated fairly. So definitely know your rights, your statutes, and all of that according to your state and the town that your business is located. Okay, you guys, so that is everything. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today's video. I hope that you guys enjoyed it and that was informative to you guys. If it was, don't forget to give the video a thumbs up, and do not forget to subscribe for more like this, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.